Hello, my name is Mohammed Amin Ghorbani, and welcome to the Voice of an Iranian. Today we are joined by Yousof Azizi, a political analyst and public policy making expert from the University of Virginia, Washington, D.C. Hello, Yousof, and welcome to the Voice of an Iranian.
Hello, thank you for inviting me. Actually, I'm a student, a PhD student at Virginia Tech. The University of Virginia is something else. So I am studying at Virginia Tech. So yeah.
It's good to have you on board with us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's been a year that Major General Qasem Soleimani was assassinated by the U.S. Army in Baghdad airport. Uh, my first question is that what was the U.S. goal that it carried out the attack?
So we can look at this incident from many different angles, but the one that I think is less talked during the past years in Iran and especially international domain is about the domestic politics of the United States. So President Trump, he, I can say, arguably, I can say that the only promises that he made during his campaign during 2016 presidential election in the United States, the only promises that he cannot deliver anything on that is about the Iran dossier, about the JCPOA and the rest of issues and policies of the United States has with issues with Iran. So he promised to, get out of JCPOA and also put many pressure on Iran, economic pressure, maximum pressure campaign on Iran, that Iranian come knee in front of United States, in front of Trump administration, and says, okay, what do you suggest? We can expand the deal in regional issues. So we can see that during the past 4 years, the only dossier, it's not North Korea, it's not China, it's not Russia. So the only dossier that President Trump cannot deliver anything for his, at least his fans, that, okay, I made some progress in these issues, is about Iran. Iran resisted against the maximum pressure. And we can now say that, okay, the maximum pressure totally failed. It's totally failed policy. So what happened? So the things here is that he assassinated the General Soleimani, and based on international law, based on UN commissioner, it is against the international. It is a terrorist act. Okay, so he did that, that assassination because he wanted to say to the American people, I did something about Iran. I did something bold. That's totally wrong. That says, okay, what happened to United States soldiers in America? It's all about Qasem Soleimani, General Soleimani. It's totally, fake issues. And Trump himself, he resisted against the, invading Iraq. He resisted against the attacking Iraq. It says, okay, that's totally foolish policy that we even just fighting Iraq. We have to bring out all of troops. So what's happening here? He wanted to sold out to the American people that, okay, I am going to bring out troops from Iraq, from Syria, from Afghanistan. But I did something bold. I killed the head of ISIS. I also, assassinated the General Soleimani, who they claim that responsible for some of the lives of people, United States Army military services in Iraq. That's a fake issues. So he wanted just to sold out these to the American people. Okay, I did that, and then I bring out the troops from Iraq or Syria or Afghanistan. So this is one of the aspects of that, and you can see that the day after the assassination and the day after Iran response to America, Iran, put more than a dozen of missiles to 2 bases of America in Iraq, American bases in Iraq. And the day after that, President Trump came to public and says, okay, he had a very, how can I say, very long interview, a very long talk. And at the end, he said, okay, we can do some same, we can do some issues, some mutual, you know, mutual act with Iran in the region to, to maintain the security of the region. For example, defeating ISIS, war with ISIS. But on the other hand, you can see that he attacked on the most influential commander in the ground, the General Soleimani, who are, doing all activities against this terrorist group like ISIS. So you can see this conflict of interest between the President Trump, what his idea is about Iran, what his idea about the Middle East policy, and also his acts that it's not in align with his policy to the Middle East. Some other people says that okay, this policy is because of his advisors like Pompeo, like Bolton at that time, John Bolton. This is another look at the incident that his advisors, he picked the advisors who had their own agenda, who are not supporting the agenda of president. They have their own agenda, and they influence the president to do to carry out this attack, which is not in the which is not how can I say, which is not supporting the whole issues, the whole policy of Trump toward the Middle East. Because after that, we can see that if any chance, if a limited chance that President Trump can open the negotiation with Iran, or Iranian open the negotiation with Trump after this terrorism act, it completely vanished. Okay, so the Iranian says, okay, we are not going to talk to you because you did these bad things.
As you rightly pointed out, that the U.S. officials and also the U.S. officials have repeatedly said that they want to evacuate the region, especially Iraq and Syria, and go back to United States and solve their own problem in the United States, as Trump promised his fans. Uh, but on the other hand, we see that the United States interferes in the region the most. What's the scenario behind this act?
So, there is an argument in the United States, in both Republican and Democrat, both in the establishment in Washington, D.C. about the foreign policy establishment of the United States. Somebody says, some scholar says the foreign policy blob of Washington, D.C. So we know already that the importance of Middle East is decreasing, is diminishing on the eyes of American policymakers. And now the most important things for America in the global domain is China. The first is China. China is rising in every aspect of conflicting with the United States, economic, strategic, military, everything. And the second is Russia and East Europe. It is something historical, not just Soviet Union, the Russia and the United States and NATO. They wanted to expand to the east, and the Russian government, fear about these issues, and they see that okay, NATO and America are stepping on the backyard and the neighborhood of Russia, so they are resisting together. It is mostly about the strategic and military issues, not economic. On the other hand, we can see North Korea. So North Korea has an atomic bomb. North Korea has a capability to attack the west coast of the United States. So these issues is not, we cannot compare these conflicting issues for United States and American public opinion toward Iran. Iran doesn't have atomic bomb. Iran doesn't is not a threat to European Union or to, United States, no kind of threat. So what's happening is that the Saudi and Israeli lobbies in the United States, Washington, D.C., they are trying their best to put the Iran issues and the conflicting in the Middle East as a top national security matters of the United States. It's just not a foreign policy because for American public, for public opinion of American people, the foreign policy is not something very important. The economic is very important, maybe climate change, migration, something like that. And also the issues that coming up to the national security. For example, we have the migration, we have the climate change, we have the Russia's interference in American election, we have the Chinese expansion as a global superpower economic issues. So these kind of issues are important for public opinion of the United States, but Iran is not. So what's happening is that the Israeli and Saudi lobbies in Washington, D.C., they try to put Iran this year as a top national security for American agenda. But on the other hand, if I go back to Middle East, the reason that Middle East was an important region for United States during the Cold War and after that, one is because of containment against Soviet Union. The United States saw Soviet Union as a major ideological and superpower who wanted to come down and get all of the Middle East, the resources and everything, and topple down the government who are not aligned with communist idea and change them to the communist idea. Is it true or not? Another issue. But this is what Americans saw the Middle East as the first priority, that containing the Soviet Union. The second issue is about the energy, because the United States during the 1960s, 1970s, and 80s directly dependent on the energy, on the oil coming from the Persian Gulf. So it is important for the United States to make a security in the region, in Persian Gulf, that they are free. They make sure that the free trade and free routes of energy happen in the Middle East. No interference on that. This is the second one, and the third one is the Israeli issues. Okay, the Israeli conflict with Arab neighbors, the Israeli conflict with Palestinian. So after the 1973 war, Arab-Israeli war, the United States makes sure in any aspects that Israeli security, was the first priority. So they deliver every aspect, the highest level of military capability to Israel, and also do some negotiation between Arab neighbors like Egypt and Saudi and Israel to make sure that there is no more war in the region. And nowadays, the first two reason is diminishing. Okay, there is no Soviet Union here, so Russia also has some limited activity in the Middle East, but it's not such a power to come and grab every countries in the Middle East. On the other hand, the United States is not depending directly on the energy coming from Middle East. Okay, the United States now, because of the technology, advancing technology like getting oil and gas from shale oil, shale gas, and every other aspects from importing energy from Canada, Mexico. So now United States in the leverage of being exporting, energy, oil and gas to European countries and other countries, not importing. So nowadays, the important things for the Persian Gulf is not worth to have the military. Okay, the United States have very strong base and military in Persian Gulf to secure the the route of energy. It's not worth that, because who gain from this security? Who gain most from the energy, oil and gas from the region? The East Asia, the China, the Korea, Japan, okay, India, these countries. So the United States and Trump asked several times from Japanese, from India, to come and have some cooperation with United States. Also asked for European to come and have some military cooperation to secure the region, secure these free trade routes. So these are the issues that diminishing from behind, in front of the scene of the American people and American policymakers, that why are we, putting some of these kind of costs and military expenses in the region? Why other people, other countries get the benefit? The Israeli issue also solved in some cases. If you put aside the Iran and Iran resistance in Syria or Iran's movement, so you can see that no countries in the region and no neighbor countries are in a position to have any kind of existential threat to Israelis. So Israelis are having, are stable and have many power to just, attack any threat from the ground, from the beginning. So these are the questions that United States and President Trump, he honestly talked about these issues in 2016 campaigning. Okay, what happened during these 4 years, and maybe this is your question, this is your basic question, that why he cannot do, he can't deliver his promises about the Middle East. He cannot bring out every truth. So he did something, especially recently. He reduced the number in Afghanistan. He wanted to reduce the number from Iraq. He also wanted to completely evacuate from Syria, but we can see the resistance from Department of Defense and from the National Security Establishment of the United States. As I said, one of the most factors that influence the decision of the president in United States is about the influence of advisors and influence of the organization, the routine procedure. So Department of Defense believe that, okay, being in Syria, in at least in some part of Syria, is a strategic advantages if you want to do some negotiation with Iranian, if you want to pressure Iran, if you want to make sure that the security of Israel is always carried on. So these are the issues that you can see. Although President Trump ordered 2 times that we have to completely evacuate from Syria, but again, there are some inside resistance from the government of the United States. And at the end, he accepted to put some military bases and military people in the, in the strategic point, like he apparently says that, okay, we love oil, we love Syrian oil, so we got just getting the oil, we are protecting the oil well of this in Syria, but we are not loving borders. In borders, Turkey, Russia, and Kurds, they have to fight together. Okay, we are not putting the lives of American people from for borders or for protecting Kurds or something like that. It's not related to us. Because, he's a businessman and he wanted to show to the people, to American people, okay, if I put military in any places in the world, especially in the Middle East, it is because of economy. I bring some advantages, economic advantages for you, for American people. So it is completely divided from the establishment and intervention in international idea in the United States, that the people, the national security establishment has, that, we have to go and intervene in every aspects of, countries in the Middle East or elsewhere to secure, the long-standing national security of the United States or Israel or our allies in the region. No, the President Trump is just doing cost-benefit analysis and very short-limited, very short-sighted to show the people of United States, okay, I did something economically benefited you. And, and many people like John Bolton at the end says, okay, whatever he done, it's because of the second term. He wanted to win the second term of presidential election. So all of he done in the region or elsewhere in the international domain is to just, his slogan is American first, America first. He wanted to show the people, okay, I am the one who just doing these costs because of, and we can deliver back, we can bring back some economic, endeavor for United States, for American people. So this is the reason he divided in international relation from other American previous president or previous national security advisors. And there is some resistance from the inside of American government, and he failed in some aspects to deliver. Maybe if he wins the second term, he can do something else in his second term. We cannot say, we cannot assume completely, but at the end, I can say the conflict of interest of the president himself, the bad advisors he selected, and the misunderstanding about American power in the international relation, and also the Iranian power in the region. These factors is some of the most important issues that the President Trump failed, at least in the Middle East.
Do you think that Biden administration will have less focus on the region and keep focusing on domestic issues and domestic problems that they have in the United States in order to sacrifice Israel's security, or no, they'll just keep their military personnel and their logistic support for the Israeli regime, and keep supporting the groups that want to actually have the relationship with the Israeli regime.
So yeah, it is a difficult question, and he promised that within the first month he tried his best to end the Yemen war, and force the Saudis to end the Yemen war. If he delivered these promises, that's the biggest step. But again, I doubt it. As we know that during the Obama administration, this war begins, and during Trump, it goes to the deadlock. So, so there are many aspects of your question. As I said, the whole American establishment, instead of these lobbyists, Saudis and Israelis, they want to come out, reduce their presence, their footprints in the Middle East. But there is a but here, and is that if they can make a balance of power in the region, okay, the most important in the Persian Gulf between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and then between Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, and then at the end in the whole region in West Asia between Israelis, Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. So what happened, and if we look at this, concept, then we look at JCPOA. What happened? JCPOA is the first step, as during the Obama, they talk about this, that we are gonna build up on JCPOA for other commitment, for other agreement with Iran on regional security issues. They talk about it behind the scene in think tanks and some low-level advisors. But nowadays, Biden publicly talked that, okay, JCPOA is something just base, that's just the first step. I remember that after JCPOA was signed, Barack Obama, in an interview, he said that Saudis and Iranians, they have to learn to share the region. Okay, so what you can understand from this, although the Saudis says, okay, but they rejected this idea. They said, okay, we are not going to talk directly to Iranian unless Iranian come out of any Arab countries. The Arab countries is our backyard. It's our domain that we talk, and Iranian is not related to any Arab countries. So I wanted to say that what happened in the mind of American decision makers, especially the Obama and Biden part of the Democrat faction, Democrat Party, is that, okay, we want to come out, but after doing some bold agreement in the region that make sure there is a balance of power in the region, that maintain the security of the region. Okay, so the JCPOA is the first step, and they wanted to expand it to the missiles program, the Iran regional activities, the regional influence. Okay, after they understand that and they keep these promises, they find this agreement, then they can reduce their footprint from the Middle East and focus on East Asia or else somewhere else. The Trump administration is something else. The Trump administration thinks that, okay, I am not waiting to see this balance of power going through these agreement with Iran in the long term, in 8 years, 7 years, 5 years, that Iranians should receive the benefits and make some trusted and, go to the next level. No, I don't want this. I want to put maximum pressure on Iran and then get the whole of these issues together, from the regional influence, regional security, missiles program, nuclear program, all of these together on one hand, because if I put the pressure on Iran, Iranian come and says, okay, whatever you say, we say, okay. And this is a very foolish idea, because the past 35, 40 years, 40 decades after the Islamic Revolution in 1979 shows that Iranians are not the peoples, and the Islamic Republic of Iran is not the government that just, says yes to the economic pressure. No, it's completely different. So, so what happened during these past 4 years shows that the American public, although they fear and they respect the national security level of the United States, but also they wanted to see some some benefits inside the countries, okay, from these vast majority of expenses outside. The Brown University, one think tank from Brown University, they projected that the cost of war, of terror, after 2001 in Afghanistan and Iraq, in the Middle East, is over $7 trillion. This is huge. The American people cannot understand this. And after 19 years, the Secretary of State of America, sits inside besides the, Taliban, and they shake hands. This is something that American people cannot imagine that. That 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, the Afghan paper came out. Many people compare this Afghan paper to Pentagon paper, to Vietnam paper. And this Afghan paper, when it's released to the public, but Washington Post first published this, thousands of pages of the war in Afghanistan, that Pentagon and other federal department, released that, they found out that all three administrations, Bush, Obama, Trump, and two parties, and the whole establishment in Washington, D.C., they lied to American people about the successes of this war, in this 18 years war. And, it's completely to wasting money after 2001, after the, the 9/11 attack in American souls, to invading Iraq, Afghanistan, and other countries in the Middle East. So what's happening is that, yes, the Biden administration also got some, how can I say, impact from these past 4 years of Trump's slogan of American First. Also, these people he selected for his national security administration, although he are thinking of these kind of international relation, international liberalism, and spreading democracy around the world, but I think it should have expect that it has some kind of, how I can say, some kind of more balance between doing cost-benefit analysis like President Trump, but not just business analysis in national security, international security, to show some benefits for American people, doing with some wisely, wisely do some issues in the Middle East. So this is just expectation, But as far as I said, the lobby group, the advisors, the Congress, who are really tough in issues, they might be, some barriers that Biden administration do what is in the interest of the American people.
President Trump always talked about a better deal with Iran after withdrawal from the JCPOA. Yet he ordered the assassination on General Soleimani. How's this possible?
Yeah, I told the first question, but sometimes, as I told you, sometimes bad advising told you that maybe this person, this unique person, is the one who don't let some faction in Iranians come to negotiation. He thinks that, okay, if I attack to the model of resistance, or to the role model of Iranian people, or the resistance movement in the region, if I attack him, if I take him out of the scene, of the puzzle, uh, so some people inside Iran, or maybe some faction inside Iran, says, okay, we don't have any now, any resistance card, any card to bring in the table, because Iranian policymakers sees these resistance in the region as a tool to, how can say, to have a leverage to any negotiation with American, with the superpower like America. So my understanding, this is a bad advising, because Iran, IRGC, Quds Force, these are not like a cult, these are not like a young organization. These are an establishment. These are like a regular military. These has a complete bureaucratic issues. So one person, if it's gone, if it's very important, it's a role model, it's a general. So somebody else coming and step in the in that role, and he led the issues. So this is a bad advising. As I said, one of the issues about the domestic politics, he wanted to sold out the American people about these issues, that I have some benefit regarding Iranian those years. Why we all know that this is the most important failing policy, international relation of Donald Trump. But on the other hand, the bad advising that he thought, if I take this person out of the puzzle, so I could have I could have the easiest way to deal with Iran now, which we can see that this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. And as I said, I talk about some factors that he felt about these issues. One important aspect is that he don't know about the region. He don't know about the history of the Sunnis Shias conflict, or the history of the Islamic Revolution. Why Islamic Revolution happened, and what's the argument? What's the goal of Islamic Revolution? So he doesn't know about that, and his advisors is not going to talk the truth to the power. He's not going to talk about the fact. They have their own agenda. John Bolton has their own agenda. He wanted to make war in every aspect, Russia, Iran, every places. And you can see after he forced to be resigned, or he talked strongly against Trump. And Trump also talked about Bolton, that he wanted me to attack any countries like Iran, Russia, every places. We know that President Trump, did not want to go to a complete war, to a full range war like what happened in Iraq, invading Iraq, or invading Afghanistan. But he doesn't know how to talk to Iranian. He sees the region as something like bully, the bully policy that happened in the schools in America, or he sees these security issues in the Middle East as a business, business manner. It is not business. It is not bully issues. And he can do the bully issues on Saudi Arabia, on the countries are their security depending on America and United States, but not Iran as as completely independent country in whole issues, in economic, in their in regional doctrine, security doctrine. Iran is a completely independent country after the Islamic Revolution in 1979. So these are elements that whatever he has done about Iran, it's completely against the goal that he has to have more, better deal, as you said, better deal with Iranian.
There are tons of questions left to ask, but due to shortage of time, I'm just gonna jump to the last question, and it's about Biden administration. What do you think is going to happen to JCPOA in Biden administration?
So we already know we are sure about some issues about Biden administration. And on the other hand, we know that they talk about some aspect, this national security team that he managed. They every day talk about some other aspects. So what we are sure? We sure that President-elect Biden or President Biden will re-engage, will remake, will revive the relationship, the transatlantic relationship. What does it mean? One of the most important pillars of American foreign policy after the Second World War is the cooperation between United States and Europe, the European Union, and the countries, especially in Western Europe, that has similar ideas, the strategic ideas, or democracy has similar regime like the United States. So this transatlantic relationship, which is, which NATO is part of that, European Union, and all of these economic and strategic relationship between United States and the European Union, all part of this transatlantic relationship, are really badly hurt during Trump administration. Trump didn't look to the international norm, international relation as something which is secure the United States or benefited the United States and American people. It's not. It has some bad tendency about the globalization. But this has not happened in Biden administration, Obama administration. So we think that they try to revive the issues, the relationship, the military strategic relationship with European Union, and it has some effects on Iran and JCPOA because during Trump administration, Iranian can easily maneuver in international organization, international relation, international regulation within, for example, the United Nations Security Council. At least 4 times, 5 times, the American was defeated. The American really badly hurt their reputation in United Nations Security Council over Iran issues, Iran JCPOA, the embargo on Iranian Iranian military equipment and something like that. So, but when European countries in Biden administration come besides and shake hands with Biden administration, so it is a little bit difficult for Iranian to easily maneuver in this international relation. Then the Iranians should mostly focus on Russia and China to support them in international relations, just as a matter of international law and regulation. So this is one of the things that we make sure. The other thing is that because Iran and also the Iran Parliament, the Majlis, they designed that in 2 months now, it's less than 2 months. If European Union, if Americans, they didn't comply with the commitments under JCPOA, and Iran didn't receive the benefits from JCPOA. So the Iranians should advance their nuclear capability. They should rebuild and revive their nuclear capability like the before JCPOA was signed, even more than that. And if that's happened, so this is one of the, I remember the Biden talk in these past months, that this is one of the concerns of Biden, that Iranians shouldn't have the capability they had before the JCPOA in 2012, 2013, because JCPOA completely diminished the Iranian capability, nuclear capability. So if Iran receive and revive their capability in nuclear power, again in the future, if there is any negotiation, Iranian has more card to put in the table and have their more leverage. This is another matter that maybe forced Biden to come and join JCPOA faster. There should be some forces. Iran should show some elements of power and force that, that make Biden administration to come back to JCPOA as soon as possible without any precondition. If anybody should put precondition, this is Iran, not America, not Biden. But again, there is some issues because Trump during these past 4 years put many executive orders. These are all executive orders of sanction against Iran to pressure Iran. So Iranian should make sure that Biden at least put aside and delete some of these executive orders from the from being in affecting the Iranian policy and Iranian economy. There are some aspects, and the one important aspect is Iran's election. Iran has election in about 5-6 months, and as I said to you, the JCPOA during Obama administration is the first step. They wanted to build on that, to go through another agreement about the regional security. And this is very important. If Biden comes to the JCPOA very soon before the Iranian election, maybe the next administration in Iran is not willing to, go to further talk and further negotiation very soon before receiving all of the benefits. But on the other hand, if Biden administration will not come back to the JCPOA completely, just releasing some economic benefits, very limited economic benefits for Iranian, that some factions, some features in Iran, some people in Iran, political feature, they said, okay, you can see, we can have more negotiation with American to get more benefits, and they're willing to, and not just JCPOA, just after JCPOA come to other negotiation with United States. So it is a little kind of managing these issues that American had to see if they can influence of Iranian election in the next 4 or 5 months. So it is another factor. But what happened during this past 4 years is that Iranians sees they did their obligation under JCPOA, but they didn't get benefit. There is no guarantee. There is no guarantee for Iranians that if somebody is in JCPOA, the other parties in JCPOA, especially the United States, they don't want to do their obligation, comply with their obligation. Nobody's, can restore that. Nobody's can attack them. Nobody's can punish them. There is no guarantee that Iran can get the full benefit. How Iranians want to go to another step, to another issues like regional security or other issues without any guarantee, okay? So these are a bold issues that would be an argument, would be a kind of argument, and would be the point of argument within the Biden administration and Rouhani administration in the last 5-6 months of Rouhani administration. And we have to see. Sometimes some elements in Biden administration says, okay, we are gonna come back as soon as possible to JCPOA after Iran come back every, Iranian reduce every nuclear activity they, because you know that Iranian, about 1 year after Trump came out of JCPOA, 1 year after that, Iranian, in 5 steps, Iranian reduced their commitment to JCPOA. But it's not something, they cannot come back. They can again reduce their activities. Like, for example, making more advanced centrifuge, okay? So Iranian can say, okay, we limited this activity on more advanced centrifuge to the limitation of JCPOA, because JCPOA let Iran, after 8 years, to do research and bring these advanced centrifuge to the line, to the industrial level. So Iran says, okay, we wait until 8 years. Now it is 5 years, 6 years. So it is a matter of talk between two parties, especially Iran and the United States. But I assume that before Iran receive at least the release of sanction in the manner that Iranian can sell their oil easily, and Iranian banks and financial institutions can easily do their activities with outside financial organization, with international organization. Before this happened, we couldn't see any more negotiation between Iran and Biden administration. And under JCPOA, Iran also cannot do international interaction by dollar, just euro, just other currencies. So already, I mean that after JCPOA, the 1 year that the JCPOA was implemented in January 2016, and between January 2016 and January 2017, when Trump came to the White House, it's just 1 year that Iranians see some limited benefits. So Iranians saw some limited benefit economic benefit from JCPOA. They thought more, they expected more, but the relief of sanction was very if Iranian in the rest of these 4 or 5 months don't receive that limited amount of benefit, just that limited amount of benefit, I didn't see any kind of progress in the negotiation with Biden administration.
Thank you, Mr. Azizi from the University of Virginia Tech, Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you soon. Thank you and have a great time. Goodbye.
Thank you for having me, and take care.